Salam and a very good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us today in debunking the myths around the post-tax period. Before we dive into the technical portion of this webinar, I encourage you all to participate in a simple exercise with me. For all those who believe that the first tax return is due only in 2025, help me in typing B in the chat box. B stands for belief. And those who don't, who feel that no, type N in the chat box. No one believes anything. The first tax return due only in 2025. Okay, I can see a lot of B's coming in the chat box. Next one. For all those who believe that your tax year will always be equal to your financial year, again, help me in typing B in the chat box. Okay. Quite a lot of people believe B and quite a lot of people believe N. The audience is split here. And now the last one. If you have an entity which is incorporated between 1st June 2023 till 30th June 2023, then I want you to type K in the chat box. Now, what does this K stands for? It stands for Khalas. And why Khalas, you will come to know in the later part of the webinar. So I will quickly introduce the topic to you all and provide the context in this respect, thereby opening stage for my colleagues Kushal and Karishma to take you to the nitty-gritties of the public clarification. Kushal, can I have the next slide? Taking you all through the journey of determining the first tax period and some of the important dates. The most important being 1st June 2023, which is the date from which corporate tax became applicable. A critical aspect in relation to tax period is that the corporate tax law specifically mentions that it would apply to tax periods commencing on or after 1st June 2023. Now, what is a tax period? That is also again clarified in the corporate tax law itself, which states that financial year or a part thereof for which a tax return is required to be filed would be the tax period of the company. Now, assuming that there's an entity which was incorporated 5 years ago and follows Jan to December as its financial year. For that company, nothing would change on account of this clarification, since the first financial year post the corporate tax implementation would be January 24 to December 24. And the same will be the first tax period for which the return has been filed. So now why have we gathered here to discuss the 30-pager clarification which has come out? Because what is clarified by the public clarification released on 30th July is what would be the first financial year for the newly incorporated companies post June 2023, and thereby their corresponding first tax period. Now, reference is also drawn in this public clarification to commercial company laws, which clarifies that the first financial year would not be shorter than 6 months and will not be longer than 18 months. Now, to break the suspense for you all, the major impact here is for the entities which are set up in the period ranging from 1st June 2023 to 30th June 2023. And those entities follow the financial year ranging from Jan to December. You remember the Khalas entities which we talked about? For them, the first financial year would be the date of incorporation, which start from the date of incorporation, which would be somewhere in June, and which will end on 31st December 2023 and not 2024. Because this from June to December would be a 7-month period, and thereby their first tax period would be from June till 31st December 2023, which would in turn make their first corporate tax return due within 9 months, which would be 30th September 2024. Now, another critical aspect in this clarification is that it applies almost to every company who is liable to corporate tax, be it mainland, free zone, offshore companies, etc. It also applies to non-residents who have a PE established in the UAE, as well as to foreign companies which are effectively managed or controlled out from UAE, which are the entities who have poem in UAE. Yes. Now, here in this slide, we have two practical cases of how Imara portal has adapted to the change post clarification. If you see the first screenshot, it is a registration certificate of an entity which was incorporated in June 2023, which was issued to us few months back. Now, in this screenshot, if you observe, the first tax period is stated as January 24 to December 24, and the corresponding due date for filing the return of income is stated as 30th September 2025. Now, with the curiosity to see if the portal has adapted to the clarification, we tried to re-verify with the same incorporation date. And this time, the first tax period shown was from June 23 to December 23, and the due date for filing the corporate tax return is now appearing as 30th September 2024. So this is an interesting thing for which we've gathered here today, and we thought it would be very essential to apprise the audience that the first return filing due date is not 30th September 2025, but is 30th September 2024. Now, another very basic thing which I would like to clarify here is this all which we are discussing today is clarified via a public clarification. Unlike a guide, public clarification is legally binding. So we all will have to abide by what is stated in the public clarification. With this, I hand over to Kushal for taking us through the nitty-gritties of this clarification.
Thank you, Kinjal, for this warm introduction for the presentation and for corporate tax periods. And thank you everyone for joining our webinar. Like before diving into what will be our first financial year, first corporate tax period for which we have to file our tax return, there was this clarification. Before this clarification, there was misunderstandings between the people, like what will be our first tax period for which we have to pay taxes. So there's only one single thumb rule. Any financial period starting after 1st June 2023 and for which we have to prepare our financials, like for any period which we have to prepare our financials, will be our first tax period. So this clarification, our understanding remains the same for the entities incorporated before 1st June 2023. For example, an entity incorporated before 2023 will have subsequent financial year starting after 1st June 2023. This was the basic understanding of all. But for the entities incorporated after 1st June 2023, this clarification have given the explanations that what will be the first tax period. So as per reporting standards, as per various reporting standards and financial reporting standard, and as per the company law of UAE, when a new company is incorporated, the first financial period can be of minimum 6 months or maximum of 18 months. We have to adjust the period to align with our full 12 months financial period. So if an entity which is incorporated after 1st June 2023, the first corporate tax period may also be lowest to 6 months or maximum of 18 months. So in this clarification, an entity which is incorporated in UAE, and what entities are included in this particular thing, like UAE juridical persons, it includes all LLC companies, limited liability companies, all public joint stock companies, any free zone company, any juridical person like partnership firms and all are included in this particular list of persons. So the basic criteria for corporate tax period starts with any entity incorporated before 1st June 2023 or after 1st June 2023. So if any company which is incorporated before 1st June 2023, the first corporate tax period for those companies will be the subsequent financial year, which comes after 1st June 2023. And if any entity is incorporated after 1st June 2023, then the first financial year will be date of incorporation to the financial year end date for which we are preparing our financial statements. Now we will cover these particular two examples, like any entity is incorporated before or after 1st June 2023 with some examples. So like say if any entity which is incorporated in 1st Feb 2023, which is before 1st June 2023 and which is following Jan to December as a financial year, then the first financial year, the books will be prepared is from 1st February 2023 to December 23, which is 11 months. This will be the first financial for preparing the financial. But the immediate next subsequent financial year after June 2023 for this company is from Jan 24. So first corporate tax period, it will be the Jan 24 to December 24 for these entities. And like we are taking the same example for any entity which is incorporated in Feb 2023 and following September to August as a financial year. So like earlier explained, the first financial year for these companies will be from 1st Feb 2023 to September, which is of 7 months. And the first tax period will be the subsequent period, the 12 months financial period after June 2023 will be September 23 to August 24, and that will be the first tax period. So as you can see, there is only one thumb rule. Any financial period starting after June 23, for which we have to prepare our financials after June 23, which is starting any financial period, will be our tax period will be our first tax period. Now, taking an example for entities which are incorporated after 1st June 2023. So, as Kinjal have earlier mentioned also, if any entity is incorporated in June 2023, basically we have taken an example of entity which is incorporated in June 23, 5th June 2023, and following Jan to December as a financial year. So immediate next financial period for this particular company is 5th June 2023 to 31st December 2023, which is of 6 months and around 25 days. So a company have to prepare financials for this particular 6 months and 25 days. And the first tax period for this particular company will be this particular period only from 5th June 2023 to 31st December 23. And as there is also another provisions that we have to file our tax returns within 9 months from ending of our tax period. So as you can see, the tax period is ending on 31st December 2023. So these particular companies which are incorporated in June 2023 have to file their first tax return on 30th of September 2023, 2024, which is 9 months after completion of their first tax period. Now, taking in another example for entities incorporated after 1st June 2023. So, for any entity like which is incorporated in June, which is incorporated in 2nd of Jan 2024, but that company is following April to March as a financial year. So, as per financial reporting standards and as per company law, the company have to prepare their financials for January 2024 to March 2025, which is around 15 months. For 15 months, they have to prepare their financials. So, taking that thumb rule only, any financial period which is starting after 1st June 2023 is starting from 2nd Jan and ending in 31st March 2025. So, this particular 15-month period will be the first tax period for this particular company, which are incorporated on 2nd of Jan 2024. Now, this was all for entities which are incorporated in UAE. But there are other limits in corporate tax also. Like there are certain limits for say any basic exemption limit of 375,000, which is applicable for 0% tax, 0% corporate tax, or small business relief, which says that any businesses having revenue below 3 million dirhams can opt for this particular relief so that they don't have to pay taxes. So, like, what if there are any situations where financial period is lower than 12 months, or first corporate tax period is lower than 12 months, or more than 12 months? Then we have to prorata these limits or not. So, what the law says that these particular limits will be are applicable for tax periods, not for financial year or tax year. So these particular limits will be calculated for whole tax period, whether it's 18 months or whether it's a 6 months tax period. We have to calculate these limits for whole tax period of 18 months or 6 months, whichever is the scenario. And these limits includes taxable income threshold, small business relief limit for 3 million, or audit limit for like entities having revenue more than 15 million dirhams require audited financial statements. Entities having revenue below 3 million can have cash basis of accounts, cash basis can follow cash basis of accounting. TP documentation is required for 200 million revenue, or there are limits for free zone person like 5 million dirhams or 5% of revenue, and other limits. But there is also other limit for this particular there is an exception for interest limit rule. Like the law says that you have if you have revenue interest more than 12 million dirhams, so that will be allowed only up to 30% of EBITDA. For that particular interest limit, you can prorata on basis of your period. Like if you have 18 months, and you can prorata to 12 months and next 6 months. But if there are for these particular limits, you can't prorata. You have to follow these particular limits for all of your whole tax period. This is for the entities who are incorporated in UAE, for the juridical person incorporated in UAE. But there may be another entities like foreign entities who are effectively managed from UAE, like their business is properly managed from UAE also. Then the law says if such entity having place of effective management in UAE, then particular entity will be considered as resident in UAE. So this particular clarification clarifies the first tax period for these entities also. So the law is simple only, like the law is simple that any financial year incurring after 1st June 2023 for which the entity has POIM in UAE, then that will be the first tax period for any foreign entity. So say example, any entity is incorporated in USA and which is falling Jan to December as a financial year. So any particular financial year starting after June 23 will be Jan to December 2024 for them. And if that entity have point in UAE for that particular Jan to December 2024, then that will be their first tax period only. Taking another example of Indian entities also, if an entity is incorporated in India, then financial year followed in India is April to March. So if that entity is having POIM in UAE for from April 24 to March 25, then the first tax period for them will be April 24 to March 25. And this clarification have also clarified that POIM will be calculated after the year end. Generally, POIM is calculated after the year has ended. That for the last year, for the particular last year, where the company where the company was effectively managed. So we have to determine the POIM after completion of our financial year or the tax period only. We have talked about the entities which are incorporated in after outside UAE, but that are resident in UAE due to their effective management in UAE. But what for the companies which don't have any particular management here, but they have their permanent establishments here, they have their branches here, or they are just a non-resident but taxable person here. So for those entities, the clarification also provide that when will be they considered as a non-resident taxable person. The recognition may depend for permanent establishment on two bases. The permanent establishment can be from fixed place of business, or any person who is exercising who is having agency permanent establishment here, who is exercising any decision making processes from only any person. So there are two scenarios. First is fixed place of business, another is agency PE. So for fixed place of businesses, the law says that the fixed place of business will be considered as a permanent establishment only after 6 months of operations. This is the law says. And for the agency piece, it is said that the PE will be established from the date when the particular person is taking decisions from here. The agent is taking decisions from here will be considered as agency PE. So there may be two scenarios also. PE can be before 2020, 1st June 2023 also. PE can be after 1st June 2023 also. So the whole scenario is based on that one thumb rule only, that financial period on or after, starting on or after 1st June 2023 will be considered as first corporate tax period. So first tax period for the entities which have PE before June 2023 will be 12 months financial period commencing on or after June 2023. But for the entities having PE, they have created PE after 1st June 2023. The tax period can range will be start from the date of start of their operations to end of their first financial period, and it can also be ranged from 6 to 18 months. Generally, as per UAE law, generally as we have got the operational months are 6 months for the for the fixed place of business, but as per the if DTA have certain other provisions regarding this period, then DTA double tax avoidance agreement will apply for determining the permanent establishment. Now we are taking an example for the entities which are considered which have place of effective management before 1st June 2023. So for say if an entity have permanent establishment since 1st Feb 2022, and that entity is falling Feb to Jan as a financial year. So from Corporate Tax Act, as Corporate Tax has started from 1st June 2023, from angle of corporate tax, this particular entity is starting operations from 1st June 2023. and PE established in December 2023. So this particular scenario says that this entity is having a fixed place of business in UAE and having PE in UAE. But the next financial year from 1st June 2023 is Feb 24 to Jan 25. So this is immediate financial year after 1st June 2023. So this will be the first tax period for the entity. And what if an entity have PE effective after 1st June 2023? So for say if an entity have started its branch and foreign entity has started its branch in UAE on August 2024, and that is following Jan to December as a financial year. So PE for that entity will be established in 1st Feb 2025 as 6 months from starting operations from for operations in UAE. But as entities have will be considered as a non-resident taxable person in Feb 2025, but the entity will be considered as having businesses in UAE from 1st August 2024. So they have to prepare the financials from August 2024 to December 2025 for around 15 months. And this will be considered as their first tax period for the Corporate Tax Act. So as you can see, at the angle, like if the entity may have the fixed place of business or may have agency PE, the first tax period will not have any effect from this angle, but this particular angle will be checked only when there are certain cases. There are this particular aspect only checking when will the considered when the entity will be considered as having permanent establishment in UAE. And now this was all for the tax periods that from where the entity will have their first tax period and all. Now I will just want to hand over the stage to Karishma to explain the certain clarifications about the tax deregistration in this particular clarification that have been issued.
Thank you so much, Kushal. I hope the audience is now being clear with respect to the tax period, whether it is being a resident entity or a non-resident entity with PO, POAM or P in UAE. Now, as many have been aware that corporate tax registration was mandatory, so is tax deregistration as well. So as there was a late penalty or late filing registration penalty of 10,000 dirhams, there is a penalty for late deregistration as well. Just to conclude or just to summarize this tax deregistration formula, it's not that if company says, okay, I had a company, I didn't had any operations, so it is as good as a liquidated company or it is as good as a good company. So why do I need to register? The guide has very clearly specified, or this public clarification has very clearly specified that even though your company is not doing any operation, unless and until you have an active liquidation report, like it's not that you have just not done any business and you are running without doing any license renewal, or you're not even having a liquidation report, it would not suffice. You need to have a proper liquidation report that needs, you need to have a proper liquidation report, you need to have a proper closure of your business, and you need to submit all these documents within 3 months from the date you have done your liquidation or your dissolution and upload it on the tax portal for getting deregistered. It is not that, if you have already been incorporated and then you are deregistering or then you are not commencing your business after the corporate tax period has already started, you don't need to register itself. So this has been very clearly specified in the clarification. Just to elaborate, say the company was incorporated in 2020 and it has been following a financial year that is September to August. Hence, effectively, the first financial year would come from September 23 to August 24 as per the clarification and as per the law. I hope everyone is clear with that. Now, supposingly, if the same business is being closed on 25th of July 2023, that is before the company has actually begun or actually entered the first financial year, that is the first tax period, only in that case, the company is not required to do any kind of registration and thus is exempt from the deregistration as well. So this would be applicable only for the companies which have not entered into the corporate tax period, have taken a wise decision to deregister or to liquidate their company before they enter the corporate tax period. Just to summarize this one, I would like to take another example. Kushal, if you can move to the next slide. Now, in the earlier example, the company was liquidated before it started or before it entered into the first tax period. In the similar case, suppose the company was incorporated 2015 and it has been following the financial year that is Jan to December 2024. However, in mid-July or say in the last month itself, the company thinks of closing down its business and it closes down on 2nd of July 2024. As it is being following the financial year Jan to December, its first tax period would be Jan 24 to 31st December 2024. That is by default. But as the company was closed on 2nd July 2024, the date it is closed or it is deregistered and it is liquidated will be considered as its first corporate tax period, and it has to pay any tax liability and file return for these period. Now, in this case, if the company is incorporated in August, as per the earlier FTA decision which came down, it has been clarified that the companies which are incorporated, irrespective of the year of incorporation, have to register by October. So in this case, as the company was incorporated in August, it is required to register by 31st of October 2024. That is as per the earlier FTA decision. Now, if the company closes down on 2nd July 2024, this public clarification specifies that within 3 months from your business closure, you need to apply for deregistration. So effectively, it would come in on 1st of October 2024. Now, in this case, you can see that there is a reverse gear where the registration is to be done by 31st October, while the deregistration is to be done by 2nd of October 2024. So this is where businesses have to be mindful and take their wise decision that they have to keep a window of 3 months. So if you're already registered in October and you have closed down your business, it's recommended that you take the registration now, and then within 3 months, you get your company deregistered. So that's the entire aspect of deregistration, of the tax deregistration, that has been very clearly mentioned in this public clarification, so that there is no confusion to the people. Okay, when do we register? When do we deregister? Do we have to register even if we are not conducting any business? So that all the dust is clear and it has been very clearly specified. Kushal, can you go to the next slide? Now, just to summarize about what Kushal has already clarified with respect to this public clarification is that what would be your first corporate tax period? Be mindful, just imply your thumb rule, that is whatever tax period you are following after 1st June 2023, whatsoever is the first financial year that would come, effectively that will be your first corporate tax period. The only crux or the only important aspect which everyone has to be mindful of, or only the companies particularly which are set up in the month of June 2023, is that you don't get that much buffer. You don't have that chance, okay, that now my first financial year would be Jan to December 2024. Now the first financial year for you would be the date of incorporation, that is 1st June 2023 till 31st December 2023. And hence the due date for written filing of you comes as on 30th September 2024. That is just approximately 32 days from now on that you will have to be closing down your books, getting all your books and everything audited, complying it as per the tax laws, that it has been properly calculated, your taxable income, if anything is allowed, disallowed, all those things needs to be taken care of, and you need to file it before 30th September 2024. If not, of course, the penalty has been specified, which I'll cover in the next slide. Just to give you a summary about now what are the key takeaways. Very important key takeaway is for the companies incorporated. Again, I would reiterate, is with respect to the companies incorporated in June 2023. For you also June 2023 and following the financial year of Jan to December. So it's only applicable for those financial year which are following the Jan to December as your fiscal year. So for them, it would be June 23 to December 23 and tax return due date would be 30th September. Tax registration, of course, it will be required for all the entities unless and until you have a proper liquidation report, you have your proper closure of business, you have your license deregister. Effectively, it would not mean that, okay, I'm not renewing my license. It means I'm liquidated now. It would not suffice. You need to have a liquidation report, submit it to your free zone authorities or your mainland authorities, and accordingly also submit it to the tax authorities, and post that only the deregistration would be taken care of. Another important aspect, as already mentioned by Kushal, is there are certain thresholds. There are certain exemptions which are given when it comes to your corporate tax, where there is small business relief, there is free zone taxation relief, there is qualifying business relief. So all these would not be pro rata dated. That is what he has explained earlier, that it cannot be, okay, I'm doing it for 6 months. Do I calculate it for 6 months or do I calculate it for entire 12 months? So that would not be applicable, and entire thresholds will be applicable for that 6 months of your operation. And lastly, the penalties. Of course, you are in the UAE, you cannot expect or you cannot escape the penalties which are heavily levied. So if you do not register within time, there is a penalty of 10,000 for late registration. And if you do not deregister, there is a penalty for that as well, as earlier mentioned. And these penalties would range from 1,000 dirhams to till 10,000 dirhams. So 10,000 dirham is the maximum penalty that can be levied for deregistration. With this, we would like to end our session. I hope it has been clarified that what would be the first tax period for all the companies, be it a resident person, be it a non-resident person. I would now hand over to Kinjal to take it forward.
Thank you, Arishma. Thank you so much for summarizing it so well for all of us. I think most of the questions are answered. However, for the benefit of the audience at large, firstly, I would want Kushal, can you go to that slide where we had shown the screenshot versus before the clarification and after the clarification? Thank you. So Akansha, just to answer your question, if you see in the first screenshot, the effective registration date was 14/6 and the first corporate tax return filing due date was 30th 9 2025. However, I'm not sure if can we zoom it a little, Kushal, if possible? If you see after clarification, the date has now become 30th 9 2024. So yes, the Emara portal has started accepting these changes and it will slowly sync to other due dates as well. For example, someone asked their return filing due date is on 31st December 2024. Then in case there is no action till now, ideally we should wait, but since these guys are updating, the FTA is updating everything on real time basis, we should expect that they'll come up with the option to file return for December also in the coming months. Option for September has already been enabled, so all those tax returns which are due should start the filing. Another question which had come up from someone is that do we need to inform FTA about the year which we are following? So, to answer that, if your tax period is in sync with your financial year, then there is no need to inform FTA. And as you can see, FTA is integrating everything on a real time basis, it will integrate in the system. However, if your due dates are approaching and you cannot see any updates on the portal, then you may wish to go ahead and write to them.
I just want to add on this that there is a question from Lavina that they have changed their financial year from some after some date, I think. So if in that case you have to submit the application to FTA. Like you, if there is there is any diversion from tax period and financial year due to this incorporation and all, then you don't have to tell to FTA. But if there is any scenario that you are making any changes in your financial period to meet any condition, to meet any like for tax grouping condition and all, if you are making any changes in your tax period, then you have to inform the FTA that you are changing your tax period.
Yes. Yes. There are specific instances which are specified in the law where you would require to inform the FTA about your change in the tax period. For those instances, yes, you have to inform, but for these instances where there is a public clarification raised by FTA itself and they've specified that no need to inform, you don't need to inform the FTA. There's one more question which was very generic on which returns are to be filed as on 30th September 2024 and which returns are to be filed on 30th September 2025. So all the returns, you have to calculate 9-month reverse. So all those returns which are due to be filed on 30th September 2024, your financial year and the tax year would end on 31st December 2023. And for the entities where the first tax period is ending on 31st December 2024, those entities are required to file the tax return as on 30th September 2025. So you have to calculate 9 months backward. Mohammed, determination of poem is a very comprehensive exercise, and if I have to summarize it in few points, it would be like where the key decisions are taken and Majorly, it revolves around decisions and where the strategic planning of the company is done. So you can contact us after the webinar and we can circulate a poem checklist to you, which might help you. I
So
have one more question from Mataf regarding the TP documentation. So transfer pricing is as elaborative as corporate tax is, Mataf. In fact, it is more comprehensive than corporate tax. And although so the requirements for maintaining a local file and master file are where your revenue exceeds 200 million or 3.15 billion as a group. However, it is better that since this is the first year, everyone calculates everyone maintains their intercompany transactions at arm's length, in accordance with the arm's length principle, and maintains TP documentation, which will enable FTA to determine the arm's length price. Few examples of that would be your intercompany agreements, your email trails. So all those have to be kept irrespective of the revenue threshold if there are intercompany transactions.
there's a question from Mr. Rajesh Nair. Like if the
Mm-hmm.
company is incorporated in 4th July 2023 and the tax period is Jan to December. So
Hmm.
what will be the first tax period and when the company is due to file the tax returns?
Hmm.
So Mr. Rajesh, as earlier explained that you have to prepare your first financials from July 2020, 4 July 2023 to December 2025, which will be around 18 months, that you have to prepare your financials. This will be considered as your tax period also, because this is the 18 months you have to, according to company's law, I don't know the reporting standard, you have to prepare a financial for 18 months. So this period will be taken as your first tax period, and you have to file your tax returns within 9 months from ending of your financial year. So your your tax period will end on December 2025. So you have to, this your tax period will end on December 2024, and you have to file your tax return within 9 months from December 2024, which is 30th September 2025. And for Lavina, like you have the option in MRTax portal, which shows that if you want to wish or change your tax rate, then you can change your tax rate from there only. There's an option in MRTax portal only. You have to inform through MRTax portal only for changing your financial year. So
I think there's one more question from
anonymous attendee.
from Jayashree, which mentions that company closure means liquidation report and license cancellation pending VAT and corporate tax deregistration. So, Jayashree, do you mean that when you have to close the company, yes, you will have to get a liquidation report from the proper auditors, and that has to be submitted at the FTA portal, that you have liquidated, you have all your bank accounts and everything closed, and that report will be valid to hold responsible that yes, your company is liquidated, and based on that, they would be able to provide you with the deregistration. I think there was one more question with respect to, I don't know, it's some anonymous person which mentions that with a longer tax period of say 18 months, I would end up having differences between reported income as per financial statements and the tax periods. Do I need to have a reconciliation for this? So I think this is purely accounting difference that you're talking about. But even if you're doing it for 18 months, your financial statements that you're preparing, your audited financial statements, even those can be prepared for 18 months because you have an option under all the free zones and as per the federal decree law as well, where it clearly mentions that your first corporate tax period can range between 6 months to 18 months. I think this was also reiterated by Kushal very clearly, that it is with respect to your first financial year when it comes that there can be this confusion. It can range between 6 to 18 months. So it's always advisable that your 6 to 18 months, whatever is your first corporate tax period, you prepare the audited statements as well for the same year. So it becomes in line with your audited statements. And from next year onwards, you have your 12 months and you can compare accordingly. So I hope it clarifies.
And in case you are compelled to follow a longer financial period due to some other reason, then you would have to make an application to FTA for following a longer period in routine basis. So then that would in turn also sync your financial statements with your tax books. That would not get automatically covered by the clarification, but you will have to make an application to the FTA.
So there's a question from Mr. Kapil, that what about the companies registered in May 2023? So for these type of companies, your next financial year, next 12 months financial period will be the first corporate tax period. For the, if you have January to December as a financial year and companies incorporated in May 2023, the next financial year will start from Jan 24 to December 24. So that will be your first corporate tax period. Like if you can mention your tax period also.
Yes, your understanding is right. Regarding the company incorporated in May, your understanding is right.
I think there's an important question from Harshal Udani also. Like what happens in a case where I have liquidated one company on 1st July 2024 and the registration due was in September. And we have applied for registration also, but FT has not given the CT registration and due date for deregistration is elapsed. What could be the apt recourse in this reverse gear situation? So Karishma, you want to answer that? This particular question.
Yeah, just a minute. I'll just read again the question. So it says that where a company was liquidated on 1st July and the registration due date was September and we had applied, however, has still not given due to deregistration is elapsed. So Kushal, if you can just go to that slide where we have conducted with respect to tax deregistration, and it has been clarified in that if it has been clarified in this public clarification as well, that wherever the registration was required to be done, when it comes, the registration due date is coming later than your deregistration. So we will have to take a decision accordingly. Do we register first? Do we deregister first? In fact, we have the deadline for registration by 31st October, as in your case, as you are saying that it is 30th September. But as we are already into the first corporate tax period, of course, we'll first have to deregister unless we have all the documents for the deregistration, and post we apply for the deregistration one. And if it is still pending, then we will have to make a notification. We'll have to provide all the details to the FTA that this is the scenario. Maybe they would expedite accordingly, because right now even FTA has been, having a lot of challenges that is being faced. As we can see earlier, the registration certificates, as already showed, we're having clearly financial year as Jan to December. But now, post this clarification, they have also started making the changes. So it will take some time to adapt. But we have to be very clear from our end that whatever the situation is, we have to make understanding clear so that we are in line and we don't have any penalties as such. So I hope it clarifies your answer, Harshal.
Same would apply to Akansha, your case as well. I understand your return is due in September 2024, but your registration is not approved yet. So it is better that you write to FTA on their email ID stating your concern and wait for their revert.
Also, in this scenario for Harshal and Akanksha, there wouldn't be any penalty as such on you for late registration, as you have already applied. The registration due dates which are specified are for application and not to get the certificate. So you
Right.
have applied side by side. Maybe we can also start with the liquidation. And while applying for the liquidation, we clearly mentioned that we have already applied and the registration is still under process. So that can be the practical scenario we can work upon.
So one more interesting question from Nishant, that if the license is expired in March 2023, do we need to register or deregister for corporate tax?
So Nishant, again coming back to Kushal, just if you can go to one previous slide. It's that even if your license is expired, it would not suffice that your company is liquidated or you're required to deregister. You need to have a proper liquidation report. So if you're having a liquidation report, say suppose now that is in August 2024, you are already into your corporate tax period, into your first corporate tax period. I'm assuming you're following the financial year of Jan to December. So if that is the case, then being your first financial year Jan to December, you're already in that period. Of course, you will have to register and then you will have to deregister. There is no exception that only if the license is expired, there is no need to register. So I hope it clarifies.
So I think one more last question from Muhammad Umair. Like if you can advise on the registration deadlines for non-resident companies and all. So Muhammad,
You can show that
from
slide as well, Kushal, so it will help him understand better.
this one, Muhammad.
Yeah.
So Mohammed, non-resident companies, I think you were asking about non-resident companies having P in UAE. So for entities having P in UAE, like if the P is before 1st June 2023, then they have to register within 9 months from where their permanent P is established in UAE. So P is established when for the entities having like business in UAE before June 2023. So P establishment will start from June 2023 and we will take 6 months to establish a P and that will establish in December 2023. So you have to register for corporate tax within 9 months from that particular date from when your P is established, which is like 9 months from December 2023, which is, I think, date hasn't passed. But your branch is registered after June 2023. Then you have to register within 6 months from your P is established, from the date from when your P is established. So like if you have branch registered in Jan 24, 1st Jan 2024, so P will start it establishing in Jan 2024 and will establish in June 2024, 6 months to establishment, and then 6 months from date of establishment, that is December 2024 will be the due date. So we have to take like 6 months from date of establishment, not from date of creation.
Amazing. I think all the questions are answered today. For the first time, we've managed to answer all the questions live. So, yeah. Uh, I think if there are no more questions, we can wind up. And just for the benefit of the audience at large, we also have a corporate tax community where we provide daily updates on any FTA clarifications, guides, or we keep to make tax interesting since it is already a dry and boring subject. So I would request everyone who's not a part of the community to join our community and motivate us to provide daily updates.
So thank you all for joining the webinar. We'll share the PPT post webinar, and if you have any other questions, then you can reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.